They sent armed men to my cabin to collect HOA fees, and yes, I said armed. That's not a setup line that was Tuesday morning, and no, I didn't laugh then either. If you ever doubt that small-time fraud can look like a bad action movie, come sit on my porch a spell. I'll show you how it plays out in real life. The Rockies in early spring have a way of slapping the sleep out of you, thin air, clean cold, the kind that makes your lungs feel honest. I'd been stacking split pine by the porch when I noticed a paper sneaking out from under the welcome mat, flapping like it belonged to someone else. Out here, 20 miles from the nearest gas station, a single dirt road in and out mail is rare. So when I crouched and read Aspen Hill's HOA service expansion notice in block letters, I smiled the kind of smile that means you're about to cut loose a long, slow sigh. The notice had a little clip art mount in a pine tree, and language that smelled like a print shop special, bold claims about new jurisdiction, demands for $780 a month, and a signature from a Karen Brickwell president. No seal, no attorney, just a name and a threat dressed up as a bill. My deed sits in a fireproof box for a reason. My parcel dates back to the 40s, surrounded by national forest on 3 sides. It's not in a subdivision. It's not in anything else's box. Being a Marine does funny things to you. One of them is you don't react until you've recorded. I made coffee, fetched the deed, the county survey, the GPS overlay I'd ordered when I bought the place 5 years earlier. Boundaries were clear, mine, mine, mine. I photocopied, wrote a calm but firm refusal, attached proof, and sent it certified to the address on that paper. A week later, returned to sender, address unknown. Then I checked their website. Single-page stock photo, a contact form that didn't work. No bylaws, no board. My gut, which you learned to listen to, told me someone was trying to make a shakedown look official. That evening, I did a perimeter check, like I always do. Cameras, motion sensors, SD cards swapped, drone battery checked, body cam warmed up. Habit. Record everything. I stood on the porch with that crumpled notice in my hand and felt the old switch civilian to alert. Whoever thought they could lean on a lone guy in a cabin had never met my kind. I'd spent 2 decades dealing with people who push and see what gives. I don't give. The first real sign something was off was the sound tires chewing gravel. Slow, heavy. Too early for hikers. I was stringing wire to keep elk from trampling blueberries when a dark gray SUV rolled up. No front plate, magnetic panels slapped on the side that read Community Enforcement Division in white letters, and a pine tree logo that looked suspiciously like the one on the fake notice. 2 men got out tactical boots, matching windbreakers, plastic lanyard badges, a stun baton on one hip, a folder held like it was gospel. Mr. Brooks, the tall one, asked, voice trying hard to be official. I asked who was asking. He flashed the lanyard. We're with Aspen Hills HOA Enforcement. This is a compliance inspection. He pulled out a copy of the same notice, same fake final reminder stamped in red. You've failed to remit your HOA dues. We're authorized to enter to assess non-compliant structures and initiate a lien process. Fancy words. No judge, no county filing. You learn to use a little theater. I turned on my body cam with a soft beep. Smile for the record, I said. I photographed their faces, badges, the SUV, including the temporary paper plate someone had taped over the rear. Unless one of you has a court order signed by a Gunnison County judge, I suggest you leave. The taller one tried to muscle on. Sir, refusal may constitute obstruction under Section 5. Section what now? I asked, pulling my phone. Is that from your coloring book? That's when I did something childish and effective. I mentioned friends. Stick around. I've got a couple Marines dropping by in 5 minutes. You can explain everything to them. It's amazing how quickly bluff meets reality if you bluff loud enough. The 2 men shifted. The shorter one started to fidget with his badge like he could peel it off and become invisible. They didn't leave right away. Then a diesel growled up the road, not fancy, not fast, but with presence. A black Suburban crawled over the rise. Out of it stepped Cale and Ryko, 2 old unit brothers early for a weekend of tactical training. You've seen veterans before, a kind of relaxed alertness that sits in the bones. No uniforms, no visible weapons, but the posture says, don't test me. Don't test. The taller fake officer straightened. The shorter one looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there. Ryko walked around the SUV, recording plates and the magnets. Cale stepped forward, slow and steady. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just looked at them like a man looking at the weather, indifferent and inevitable. You boys with the sheriff? He asked, soft as a country road. Those two words did more than any argument. The shorter man bolted literally into the tree line. The taller one tried to reverse the SUV and fishtailed away tires spraying gravel. I sent the drone up and watched the runner stumble down the embankment in my thermal. Perfect footage. Kale pocketed the fake invoices that spilled from the folder and handed me one with a grin. "Looks like Monopoly money," he said. That should have been the end of it. But scammers double down when they think they can. I uploaded the footage, took stills of plates, badges, faces, and sent everything to the county sheriff. "We're reviewing," the deputy kindly wrote back. "This may be a civil matter." I laughed short and bitter and fired back. "They sent armed men to extort money. That's not civil." While the sheriff mulled protocol, I dug. Private vetting turned the runner into a name. Previous contractor work disciplinary issues flagged a pattern. Fake enforcement pressure tactics, repeat behavior. A friend in oversight confirmed a blacklist. Ryko overlaid my parcel against county maps. No overlap, no easement, no HOA footprint. They'd photoshopped my property into their jurisdiction. They were building a paper trail to trap people who wouldn't fight. By then I wanted more than toggled outrage. I wanted legal teeth. I called Captain Lena Morales, a JAG I knew who now does veterans legal defense. She heard the clips and the invoices and said, "This isn't HOA overreach. This is organized fraud." Her tone sharpened into action. "Cease and desist, a demand to produce jurisdictional boundaries and crucially notice of intent to sue for fraud, trespass, harassment, attempted extortion. Filed with Gunnison County Court." The plot thickened when an ex-accountant, Sandra, called. She remembered Karen, the president. She told me Karen had been panicking about dwindling dues and decided to expand the HOA on paper. Print maps, send notices, hire muscle, make people pay, or scare them silent. Sandra quit when it got ugly. She offered a sworn statement. "That's the smoking gun you pray for in messy fights, an insider willing to talk." We fed the court a dossier, drone footage, body cam invoices, domain records linking the HOA website to Karen LLC filings for an enforcement company with no filings, a USB with forged maps. Lena added a motion for an emergency injunction. We published the footage online not for clicks, but so people would know who they were dealing with. It spread fast. Local news picked up the story. Comments and other homeowners flooded in with similar tales. Momentum is a thing. Once people see the scam, they stop paying. Karen tried to double down. She filed a fraudulent emergency infrastructure expansion map with a fake bill number, attempting to manufacture legal cover. That was her mistake. When you start forging government documents, you invite federal attention. I called an old commander with connections. He put me in touch with the State Fraud Task Force and a postal inspector. Mail fraud, county filings, that's a federal flavor of trouble. They served warrants the next week. Agents swept into a rented strip mall office the HOA used as a front. Karen wasn't there. Her USB, though, was. Metadata on the forged map tied directly back to files on that drive. Spreadsheets listed pressure targets. My name at the top noted, "Make him pay." No plausible deniability left. She was booked. Cameras from the courthouse caught the moment she walked in, not smug but small and hollow. At arraignment, Lena laid it out clean: forged filings, unauthorized enforcement mail, fraud, attempted extortion. The judge didn't have patience for theatrics. An injunction stayed any further contact or enforcement. Bail revoked. The DA upgraded charges toward racketeering. Other homeowners testified. By the time the judge ordered an asset freeze and a restitution fund, Karen's little empire had collapsed. The aftermath felt like a slow, deep exhale. The county issued an apology for the temporary acceptance of a false filing, a bureaucratic facepalm, and the HOA's operations were suspended pending dissolution. Multiple homeowners recovered fees. Karen faced serious time. Lena got recognition. Friends and strangers sent thanks. The cabin, my quiet private box of trees and blue sky, became a strangely public example. People learned something we should have always understood: intimidation only works if you let it. So what did I learn? For one, never assume the system will move as fast as you expect. You might have to make it move. 2, documentation saves more than pride. It saves property and sometimes jail time for jerks who try to pretend they're law. 3, community matters, not the fake kind you pay into because you're scared, but the real kind: friends who show up, lawyers who care, neighbors who speak up. And finally, the bitterest lesson: that someone will try to weaponize paperwork when greed runs low and imagination runs high. The end of the story was satisfying because it was fair. It wasn't theatrical revenge or some vigilante fantasy. It was the law doing its job when evidence was clear and people refused to look away. Karen's hubris turned into paper and then into cuffs. The gate at my drive now has a new sign, a ridiculous heavy steel plate the guys welded on: no HOA, no fraud, no entry. It's more than a sign, it's a reminder. So I'll leave you with this. A question I want you to chew on when someone in a little town decides to manufacture power and use fear as leverage. Who do we trust to stop them? Neighbors, the courts, the press, or a handful of veterans who refuse to be bullied? Tell me what you think. And if you've ever had someone try to strong-arm you with fake rules or fake authority, share it, because the best cure for that stuff is exposure, and the second best is a good shirt-sleeve story about standing your ground.